So today's session focuses on connectivity and the importance of connectivity. And so I think the timing of this topic is epically relevant. Reaching people and connecting plays a significant role in our overall mental health. And then that said, people via email or remote means, connecting with people through remote means is more popular and more relevant than ever. Now, naturally, we would all prefer to connect face to face. However, difficult times call for creativity, and it's time for Viva to support you to embrace a new skill and conquer the fear of the unknown, and that is by using technology for communication. It is definitely a trend. I don't know how much of a trend it is, as it actually is a reality of our future. And as I said, we're here to support you, to help you enhance your skills, navigate new ways to remain connected with folks. It is our goal to mentor and coach you and help you advance your digital literacy skills. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. So I'd like to just take a moment to introduce our great guest speaker, as well as the wonderful organization that he comes from. I'll start with the organization, which is Ottawa-based. The company is called Connected Canadians. It is a nonprofit with a mandate to reduce isolation and loneliness amongst older adults by promoting digital literacy skills and providing free technology training and support. They believe that all people should be empowered to use technology safely and effectively to engage with loved ones and enhance quality of life. Our speaker today, Jesse Smith, is a technology mentor from Connected Canadians. He's an educator and hospitality professional with 20 years of client-facing experience with an MA in religious studies and theology, and currently completing a PhD in theology. He has worked with students at St. Paul's University and the Atlantic School of Theology to deliver digital courses and workshops using a variety of software tools. He has previously served as a minister and currently sits on the governing board of the Canadian Council of Churches. As a bivocational educator, he has also held management positions in a variety of hospitality venues, including four-star hotels and Canada's National Arts Centre. Welcome, Jesse. I want to also invite to the screen your colleague, Ken. Ken, welcome. Ken will be behind the scenes, managing any technical issues and supporting Jesse through the talk today. He will also be managing the chat line. He'll be managing all the questions. So I essentially get a day off with the two of you running the show today. I want to just officially welcome you and thank you both for attending today and for participating in our Viva Values Senior Mental Health Initiative. I will remove myself from the screen. I believe I've relinquished all control, so everything should run rather smooth from this point on, and I'll connect back with you at the end.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Sasha. Yeah, if anyone does have any questions or any technology-based issues, please feel free to post any questions in the chat. I'm going to post our toll-free phone number there as well, which would go directly to me. So if you do get disconnected, you can call that number and I'll be able to help you get reconnected as well. So I'll post that to the chat momentarily. And go ahead there, Jesse.
Thank you. Just for any of you that did want to connect your video as well, I want to be clear that this session is being recorded. It's something that we do with all of our sessions. And I know for the Viva Mental Health series, that this is something that is good to have a record of, but it's also something that's good to know in case you have the video on and then who knows, a cat jumps in front of the screen or you have to go to get a coffee, that all gets recorded. So if you want to have your video on, do so, but know that there's a recording that's happening right now. Obviously, maintaining connections is something that we want to do for lots of human reasons. We like making friends, we like talking to old friends. But these ways of connecting with people don't just make us feel good in the sense that our emotions are in a better place. There's actually significant amounts of research and data that show that being connected is good for us. It's good for our mental health. It's even good for our physical health. And so when that becomes more difficult, when it becomes difficult to connect, there are ways in which we have to sometimes get creative with how we reap those benefits and do the things that we used to do. Now, that doesn't mean that it's harder. Often it's just a new skill that we need to learn. In the same way, I remember I had a really good friend that moved to Brazil, and trying to call them on the phone was strange. I'd never had to dial international area codes and area numbers before, and it was awkward for a little bit to learn how to reach out and connect with them. But once I acquired that skill, it was as easy as it had been in the past. It was as easy as when they lived close by, and I just had to dial like a 7-digit number. So it was just a small little skill, a thing I had to learn that admittedly was a barrier to connecting with them. But once that barrier was overcome, I was able to keep that bond and strengthen it. And I want you to think about that as we're going through this today. What we're going to talk about is how you can connect and why those connections are so beneficial. So personal connections that benefit your mental health are are something you already have. You certainly have friends or acquaintances, maybe people who share similar interests to you that you've done activities with, or maybe for a variety of circumstances you don't have those people close at hand anymore. So you may want to meet some of those people again and make new connections. And a lot of that right now has to happen using tools like the one we're using, like Zoom or other types of video call programs. So as we go through today, we're going to just have a little explanation of how you can interact through today's through today's session. Since we've disabled some of the audio features, there are ways that you can participate in chat and also just using little features like reactions here in Zoom. Then we're going to talk about what connections actually mean, what they mean to our health, and review some of the evidence for mental health connections being actually positive contributors to your overall health. And then after we've talked about the how and the why, we're going to get some real examples, some practical ways to make online calls, practical ways to actually learn more about interests that you might have, and even ways that you could play games. Because I don't want you to think that this is all serious. It's not like the connections that you're going to be making are you don't just need to talk to lawyers or discuss serious family plans for when this person's going to come over or who will be in whose household family bubble. I mean, some of this can actually just be fun, and there's actually no better way to get through the difficult parts of learning than when there's fun on the other side. I'll admit sometimes I don't like learning new things when it comes to filing my taxes. I know it's something I have to do, but it doesn't make me get up out of bed with springs, like a spring in my step every morning. But when I get to do something fun with my friends, I'm more motivated. So we're going to hopefully give you some motivation as well as practical tools or ideas to make those connections, because we don't want to just motivate you and then not have you able to do the things. So here's a very simple thing to start off, and that's a way that you can participate in this session today. I'll be asking you some questions, and I'll be hoping for some answers, not necessarily in the form of long paragraphs or speaking, but there's ways that you can react, like actually raising a hand in Zoom. And to do that, if you're on a computer, there's a button that should be quite visible, that smiley face button with the plus sign. You can raise a hand, you can put a little, party trumpet to celebrate something. But if you're on a mobile device, like let's say an iPad, that's not as immediately apparent. You would press on the more button, those three little dots, and then it gives you additional menu options. One of those is reactions. So if you go looking for it, that's dependent on what kind of device you're using. There you are. I see people raising their hands already. And while you're at it, anyone, thumbs up if you have found the thumbs up. Let's see, we start to get here. There we go. Yep. I see everybody's just starting to light up after having found that. So that's great. And if any of this does, if you have a hard time finding any of this, just remember that that Ken is here to be able to help with more direct questions. And if you wanted to talk to Ken during this session, well, that's using the other button that's along the bottom of the screen, or again, hidden behind those three dots. So the chat bubble is what lets you talk either with everyone in the group. So the default is usually to send a message to everyone here, and that would appear on the side of the screen in a separate chat window. But let's say you see someone attending here that you already know and you maybe wanted to send a message to directly. You also have the option to send a direct private message to people using that same function. So now knowing how you can talk and interact during this session, let's talk about some of the ways that I see a question from Sheila. Where are the three dots? In general, if you're on like a mobile device, most of those buttons stay hidden until you interact with the screen. So if you tap the screen, that's what should bring up the buttons, like the little video camera or the microphone. And along the bottom of the screen, where those buttons appear, generally the three dots are on the right-hand corner. But that's a good question because they're not always visible. The way that mobile devices work, they prioritize giving as much screen space to the image. So those little things like buttons, the interface, they stay hidden unless you start interacting with the device. But that's where you should find that in the bottom right. Now, when we're talking about connection, it's important that we say what this is. A connection is not just like an internet connection. It's not just for information. It's a feeling of trust and support that's very often in between individuals, like the connections that you would have with your friends or your families. But you also have connections with communities. Those communities could be a faith-based organization, that could be a veterans group, that could be the community that you have made and built with Viva. And right now, very often, these connections can happen online. That could be on social media platforms, whether that be Facebook or something else. This could be sharing a joke or something with a friend, or even someone you haven't met before, someone that you've interacted with and felt or developed a connection, maybe over a shared interest, or maybe something as simple as commenting on the news. Because how much connection you need depends on you. Some people are very social and need interactions with other people every day. Other people don't need a lot of connection, or maybe they benefit more from one or two really deep, strong friendships or bonds, or maybe even through a strong connection with an organization. Somebody who enjoys helping or serving others could want to make those connections with, say, working with a food bank. Um, those are connections that are as important as just friendships. So when we're talking today, I always want you to remember that connections don't just mean with a friend, don't just mean with family. This broad umbrella of types of connections are all important. And what those connections do in a very practical way can be to lower anxiety and reduce reported feelings of depression. It can actually improve your self-esteem. And it also increases your ability to empathize, to trust, to navigate and negotiate the types of relationships that different people have. A lot of those relationships, those ways of acting, they're kind of like emotional muscles, and if you don't use it, you're going to lose it. Maybe you've felt over the last year that you have not been able to get outside as much. I know that's been true for me. And I felt, especially over the first few months of the pandemic, a real loss of my physical fitness. It took me being more intentional about doing things to get that back. And it's very true that the way that you interact with people, the way you empathize, even things like, politeness and manners, I find myself having to say please and thank you less because I interact with fewer people. And I need to remind myself why politeness matters, why kindness matters. And these things, practicing these things, happens as you connect with other people. So they strengthen these, let's say, moral muscles, the ethical relationship muscles. But they also strengthen your immune system. Having a strong network of friends actually helps you recover faster from disease. It reduces your inflammation, blood pressure, heart rate, and stress hormones. So these things have all been demonstrated in large scale peer reviewed studies. And connections with other people also reduces the risk of dementia, mostly because you keep your brain more active and engaged. You're thinking more in ways that are not always straightforward. I when I get up in the morning and I make myself, a sandwich for lunch, I know the steps. Everything happens in the same way. But well, people are different every day. People are new, and there's always different things to talk about that keeps your mind active, alive, and engaged. And that's what reduces the risk of dementia because your brain is always active and engaged. And it also lengthens your life expectancy. In the simplest of terms, there's more to stick around for. Um, the more you are connected with your community and with your friends and your family, the longer your life in general will be. So it's really remarkable that these things have all been backed up by medical research. I read this at the start of the pandemic, and boy, did it make me want to reach out to my friends. Being socially isolated reduces our lifespan in a way that compares to smoking 15 cigarettes a day. And social connection is a greater determinant to health than obesity, than smoking and high blood pressure. Now, to be clear, I'm not saying go out, get yourself a friend, and then put on weight, start smoking, and eat a lot of salt and put your blood pressure up. That's not it. We're not trying to say connect with people instead of other things, but that this is an integral part of your overall health. Those conversations with friends, getting out and going for a walk if you can't do things with people inside. These things have increased likelihood of your survival over time. It lowers those dementia risks in ways that are incredible. So, I mean, there's both, let's say, carrot factors and stick factors behind this. I'm more interested in the carrots because I find that's what motivates people to make positive changes and to get out there and do stuff. So if these things sound interesting to you, the actual benefits, the living longer, the reduced anxiety and depression, I want to see all of you who are paying attention raise your hand right now. And once we've mastered that, once we've got those hands raised, there, I see people raising their hands now. This is good. I want to see if you can try to use the chat feature that's also a part of Zoom, because I'm interested to hear specifically, in your opinion, are you more interested right now in the benefits of social connection to physical health or mental health? Which one did you perhaps find most interesting in that list? Are we more surprised that having friends boosts your physical health, or are we more surprised that it boosts your mental health? So there. So clearly we have people who are here for the importance of connectivity to mental health, who are interested in that. That's what I see coming up on the side. And you know what? For me, right now, that's what I feel is the most important, because it's the thing that we are not, I think, we're not as aware of how we are being affected by the isolation created by lockdowns. It's true that I do like getting to go outside and go for walks with friends, even though I can't socialize with them inside. But I know pretty clearly that going outside for a walk is good for me. I know it makes me think better, and I know it makes my body feel better. But I'm not always as aware because it's not as immediately apparent just how much those connections with friends benefit your mental health, that they help to reduce anxiety. And so I'm here today talking about this, not only because it's important, but because I don't think it's always intuitive. And if you are feeling lonely, if you feel less connections than you used to, I want you to know that the other feelings that go along with that, maybe you feel less motivated to get out and do other things because like there's a real connection between those two. And when I don't go for a walk in the morning and at the end of the day I think, oh, I feel kind of blah, that might make sense to me. But it's not always apparent to say, I haven't talked to my friends in a few weeks, and now I don't even care about folding the laundry. I don't care about, doing other things to motivate myself. But those things are connected. And I'm here today to say that that connection helps in large part because it creates empathy and sympathy. So it helps you to understand what other people are going through. And it also helps you, other people, to put their feet in your shoes. Connecting with people who can accept you as you are really helps you to feel better about yourself. Connecting to other people who understand what you're going through is a great way to take their strength and boost your own. If you think that you're too silly, having a silly friend is a great way for you to feel normal. If you have a friend who is struggling with a similar issue, like being away from their family, that shared struggle can actually be a source of solidarity and strength while you engage with your own issues, like with the same issues. Those things help with you. And it's not just helping you to feel better. There are actually real ways that this can keep you safer. By expressing your feelings to someone you trust and receiving understanding, this is what makes you feel secure where you are. And that's the kind of thing that leads to a reduction in the loneliness you're experiencing. And one moment. I need you to get out, okay? I know. I know. I'm in the middle of a workshop, so I'm going to need you to leave the office, okay? Thank you.
I can be in my room with it.
Yeah,
I can be
okay.
in my room.
I know you can be, so you're going to get that after this workshop. I need you to go out now. Yeah. Sorry about that. One thing that's not a part of this workshop, I'll admit, is that technology is often a shared resource. And when you're the guy who controls the technology in the house, you're popular, sometimes at times when you don't want to be. So that's my son who's being homeschooled right now looking for a particular device. Sorry about that. Now, what I was saying about the types of connections that we have, when you share something of your personal challenges with another person, this is a great way to share your burdens. And it's not offloading onto someone else. It's not making your problem their problem. It's actually a sharing of the burden. It's a way that you can support other people. And that's what reinforces relationships. And the more you do that, the more you learn and get better at trusting other people. So you might feel uncomfortable right now sharing some of the bigger issues that you're struggling with, or even maybe the bigger positive secrets that you have. Maybe you have a big positive life change coming, but you don't want to share that yet. Sharing smaller things beforehand incrementally is what lets you build those trust muscles, build that connection tissue to create a stronger mental version of yourself. So, as you do that, as you support others, and as you ask for support, this gives you not only the connection, but a sense of purpose. There's in sharing with somebody something, a reason to share next time. And talking to someone, reaching out that one time, while it may be a little difficult at first, or maybe it might seem trivial, you know what? It's the way you start building something. So sharing the small little tips about maybe how you cooked a meal today, that might not feel like a big important way to connect, but when you start doing those things, you build the incremental process that leads to having bigger impacts, that leads to having real strong connections. And sometimes finding communities of people that have shared interests or experiences is a really important way to jumpstart that. You might have to start talking out uh, with cooking tips with a neighbor if you don't have a strong social bond yet. But communities like Alcoholics Anonymous, well, they use relationships based on a particular really important issue in someone's life and create connections through sponsor relationships that give support in big ways right away. So you can build connections from a small thing to just about anything you want with just about anyone. But communities that have shared purpose very often allow for bonds to form more quickly and more deeply than just with general public. And that matters because if you're here today wondering about how to connect, you might be thinking, well, then who do I connect with? Uh, So think about the kinds of relationships that you want to build. Ask yourself, are you looking for a new best friend or even a digital best friend? Or maybe you just want a new acquaintance. Do you actually want someone to get outside with? Do you want to be able to go for a walk? Or do you want to find someone with a shared interest, like your favorite TV show, or maybe bird watching? Whatever it is that you want to connect about matters. And also, do you actually want to connect with a group? Or are you interested in speaking more with one-on-one? Maybe that's the thing you want. And ask yourself right now, do you want to improve family relationships? Or do you want to add new relationships? Maybe even family ones. Maybe you have a niece or a nephew that you haven't really spoken to since they were a baby. Would you like to talk to them? Well, these are things that you can do now in large ways because of technology. And that technology will also let you build on connections that you already have. I myself, I'm not in Ottawa anymore. Over the pandemic, I moved. I'm in New Brunswick, but I have family that's across North America. And over the course of the pandemic, I decided that since I've been speaking to just about everyone I know digitally online, that I have the opportunity to think of my family connection in a way that is more important or is easier to understand than my geographical one. So it used to be that I would have no problem talking with my neighbor because they're right next to me. But now I say to myself, I have no problem sending a message to my cousins who live in California on the complete other side of the continent. You might have family members in other parts of the world that you haven't spoken to as much as when you live close to them. But you know what? You can do that. You can do that often through scheduling regular calls or visits. Sometimes time zones make this really difficult. But a good friend of mine, their children live in Australia. So what they've done with their family is they have their special breakfast dinner meeting. And so when half of the world is eating breakfast and the other half is eating dinner, that's when they talk. So it's like a shared thing over the table, the dining table, except it's not the dinner table. For half of them, it's breakfast. But that regularly scheduled thing is a really, really important time of day for both sides of that family on both sides of the earth. So all of this can sound like it's kind of tricky. And as I said, you're not probably going to lead with the really big important stuff. If you are using technology for the first time to connect, it's okay to start small and take those baby steps to actually practice what you're doing. And to be fair, this can be true in person as well as online. Maybe you used to live in a rural area and now you actually have neighbors. Well, if that's true, actually, when do you talk to your neighbors? Like, if they're outside in the garden, can I go out and talk to them? Is that rude? Do I have to wait until they're on the street? Like these things, and I'm not making this up. I grew up in a rural area, and when I moved to the city, I had to deal with that. But it was by practicing that I learned what was okay and what wasn't. You know, now I know you don't talk to somebody when they're coming home from work. If they've got their keys out reaching for the door, that's not the time you say, "Hi, neighbor," because they just want to get inside. You catch them out in the garden or like doing hard work. Boy, I mean, my neighbor Alan, he would look for any excuse to put down the rake when he was raking his yard. And so it would be a great time to talk over the about anything. And that was just practice. I learned how to do things one way and not the other. And what seemed difficult or awkward at first became more natural as it went. Now, that doesn't mean that I didn't say hello to Alan whenever I saw him, because that's something too. Just acknowledging that people are around you is something that's important. And you know what? Just acknowledging that people are there online is the same way. I love it so much when I get emails from friends of mine that maybe I haven't seen in a couple months saying, "Hi, how's it going? Is Fundy doing?" So Fundy is my son. He's the one that came into the video. They say, like, "What's Fundy learning right now? Has he been sliding?" These questions are just small little points of connection that really matter to me. And they matter to anyone else too. So, with that said, I also want to say that choosing which connections you choose to invest in is also important too. If you meet someone, let's say you started going to an online class of some sort, and you tried talking to someone for a while and it just doesn't work out and doesn't click, that's okay. And if there are particular relationships that are difficult in your family that actually end up causing you more harm than good, it's okay to figure out how to manage that relationship in a way that doesn't cause you more harm than good. As a suggestion for that, one thing that I encourage people I know to do, if they have family members that sometimes can be difficult to interact with, but they want to interact with, rather than having a live FaceTime call or Zoom call, what they do is use a program like, let's say, Skype to send video messages in the way that you would write someone a letter, or even leave a voicemail message. You can leave a video voicemail message. And by having their connections sort of staggered, like they could watch the video when they want, they could respond when they want, they found that still let them keep a connection without some of the other negative feelings of a live conversation, maybe because there was some sensitive family issues. That kind of way of connecting and making the connection work for you with technology is a really powerful way to stay engaged and do so in a way that you feel like you're in control of. So you're all here today because you're connected to a Viva community. And no matter where you might be, whether you're in Mississauga, whether you're in Whitby, there are programs that are open to you. Those are programs that have other people in them, other people that could share your interests. This could be something that allows you to make that new friend, or even to make that new community. It could be that when you introduce yourself to someone at the table, maybe they have the same interest. And maybe you find that 4 or 5 people around you have that same interest. And then all of a sudden you go from thinking, maybe I could make a new friend, to maybe we could all do this thing together. That's, I think, a really exciting thing that can come out of trying to reach out and connect with new people and make new connections. You can also join a physical fitness group. And if you're saying, I didn't know there was a physical fitness group. Well, you know who does know? All the team members. And in that case, they're there to help you not only get into these activities, but to figure out just what you're missing. And we don't want to miss out on anything. Yeah, I do see someone that said, as a comment, just no ghosting. What does that mean? I mentioned that sometimes if relationships don't work out, you don't need to try to sustain them if they're not working out for you. But I will say to practice the politeness, the kindness muscles that you need to flex and build as well. Ghosting is very easy to do if the way you're connecting with people is online. And it's a term that's used to describe just cutting off all contact. So, if you get emails or Facebook messages from someone, leaving those messages unread or blocking them or disappearing without saying anything. That's rude. It can be concerning because people might actually worry about your safety, and it leaves an open end that can be hurtful. It's fine if a relationship doesn't work out or a connection doesn't go the way you wanted it to. But in general, I'd say avoid not letting the other person know if a connection isn't working out for you. And that might be a little painful at first, but it's sort of like ripping off a Band-Aid. It's better to do it quickly than to leave that uncertainty out there. So that's a sort of social etiquette that I think is worth talking about. So thank you for mentioning that. So just to recap all this, why do we do this? We do connect because it improves our mental health. We connect because it reduces anxiety, reduces depression and loneliness. Connections also increase physical health and lower your risk of dementia. It boosts your immune system. When you get rid of that inflammation, when you get rid of the anxiety, it helps you live better and longer. And when you connect, it also makes you feel better about yourself, able to accept where you are. It gives you purpose. It gives you something to do every day when you reach out. So this is something that matters a lot. I want to see, again, a little participation thing. Try raising your hand right now if this has been enough to convince any of you to try making a new connection. And as you can see, the second step, I'm interested to hear which one of those two things might be more important. Whether you're more interested in building on existing connections, or whether you want to start new things, develop new conversations and connections in person and online. Okay, so we actually have people that are interested in both. Some that want to practice new ones, and others that want to maintain. So to connect it, so where do you do this? How do you find these new connections? Very often this happens using social media, because this is what lets you use that network, use a social platform to connect. So that means adding your family members on Facebook. Maybe you have used an Instagram. Maybe you have grandkids that are trying to tell you how to use TikTok, and you say, what? What is this craziness? Well, it's not crazy to them. And social media is what will let you share what you're doing so that people know what you're doing And that's especially how you maintain these things. Social media lets you share these things. That's how you keep up to date. You take a picture, you send a comment on another person's picture. I find that's a way that you can maintain things really well. Using other platforms, and for me especially, this is Twitter, I am able to engage with new people, especially those with shared interests. So let's say you are in Whitby. It could be that on Twitter, if you search for Whitby, you can find people that are maybe commenting on municipal politics. And that might interest you. It might not, but it might interest you. For myself in New Brunswick, I have discovered people interested in posting online information about history of the province. And we now connect and have those online connections, even though I've never met them in person, but it's because of our shared interest. And that's a way that you can connect to those online communities, sometimes formal, sometimes informal, but very often actually searching for the thing that interests you is enough to find a group that already exists. So maybe that's your favorite kind of music. Maybe you like a particular breed of dog. If you search for that thing on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram, even on, let's say, the internet looking for forums, that's a great way to develop new connections. Rather than just looking for strangers in a digital world, begin with the interest, the shared interest that then leads to a bigger connection. I've found in my experience that's the best way to do that. And after you've tried doing some things like posting or sharing a picture, replying to a comment, maybe getting into a friendly argument over which album by a particular band is better, you could even take that one step further. So you go from a connection that is back and forth, almost like correspondence, to a connection that is live. It's real. It's a connection that happens in real time, like an online video call. So that's often a progression in the type of connection you make. So it's a bigger step, but it's one that you can get to if you take those incremental steps initially. So correspondence is the back and forth, very often via text, but then that could lead to a Zoom call or a Skype call. And this could be true with family members as well. You might send a message to a niece or a nephew, and then after a few messages, you reach out to do a video call, or maybe to have a video call with the whole family. And programs for doing that, I find that are especially good for like one-on-one calls are Skype or FaceTime. If you've never seen FaceTime before, that could be because you use an Android or a Windows device, because FaceTime's only a part of Apple products. But Skype is created by Microsoft. So if you have a Windows-based computer, that's a very common one for people to use. And if you want to meet with more people, like here today, we have 29 people in the room. You can't do that very well with Skype, but this type of a video meeting lets you socialize with a group of people, maybe in a book club or even to watch a movie together. That's a video meeting and is another different way of doing this. And let's say you do want to watch a movie or find let's say there's an interest that you have in something like that. Maybe it's a book club. You can explore interests together. And if you perhaps find a website like Goodreads, goodreads.com, which lets people share their opinions, it's like a book reviews almost, where people can share stories of books they've read, but it also lets you connect with other people who read the same books as you, and then develop a community based on that shared interest. So that's something that I encourage you to do if you're more looking for those interest-based connections. And again, those interest-based connections are very often the things that develop into just general friendships later on. it could be, that also you would like trying a game online. Now, if your favorite game is solitaire, maybe it says it right there in the name. That might not be the best to connect, except you could find a group of people who play these games maybe in a competitive way. You can compare scores. So even if you're playing alone, you can find people that like to play the same game alone. I use that example because that's what my mom loves. She is an inveterate solitaire player, and she's really good at it. And so she actually sometimes will talk, like chat with people about how she's playing this one challenge in free cell was really hard. Can you beat this level? And they'll talk about that. And if you want to play other games with people, things like Scrabble, that's a great two-player game, but it's one that you can step away from and go back to, so it doesn't necessarily need to be live. Those types of interactions can actually be with one other person. And you can do that on your phone or on a computer. And if you used to play a game with someone face to face, I guarantee you can find a version of that game, like a software program, to play that online again. So all of these things let you connect. You can connect over shared interests, over games. You can connect. Oh, great question. Where do you find the Scrabble game? Um, because Scrabble is sort of, yeah, I mean, it's a trademark name. I know that when I have played in the past, there's a version that I've played on, I've used Facebook, and it's called Words with Friends. So it works exactly like Scrabble, but because of the trademark, the more popular online version is called Words with Friends. So if you were to get that, you could then also connect with another person that has Words with Friends. Now, I do know that there's like a branded version that I think you have to pay for, but Words with Friends is a free one. So I'm interested now, having heard these things, I'm going to open it up to questions, but to get context before the questions, I'd like to hear from all of you that are using chat, which of these ideas you find most appealing. Would you rather be using social media, so corresponding but not live? Would you rather make more online calls or be in online group meetings like this? Exploring interests or playing games? And while everyone else is typing that in, I'll say that, Gloria, there are a lot of poker websites on the internet because a lot of them are actually places you can play for money. I would not feel comfortable recommending one site or another, um, but I do know that if you want to like engage with a reputable one, very often a lot of like established physical gaming venues, like if you used to like to go to the particular casino, I would try going to their website, or maybe the OLG. They like there's a lot of digital lottery games online, but I also don't want to like. It doesn't always have the actors in it. Some poker sites would be disreputable, so I worry about that. So this is interesting. We've got some people that are interested. So someone does play with people all over the world, but not for money. That's great. So again, because there's so many versions of that, I wouldn't know. We have some people that are actually interested in so gardening. Some people prefer texting. Sometimes then what you'd be looking for is something more like a forum. Um, a way to interact with people that is, like I write a paragraph, I share this, and there's a back and forth. And that can begin from finding maybe someone's blog on gardening that has like a big comment section. But there's always ways to begin by looking at like a website, and then from there connect to people that are also looking at that same website. So I'm getting great feedback about what these different interests are. And I hope some of you go out and find Scrabble online, or maybe you look for Words with Friends, that other one. Ken actually just shared a link for a place where you can go find info on for playing Scrabble online. And I can tell you from experience that gets you connected with like real people on the other side. Very often there are ways that you can chat as well. Now, just as the formal sort of presentation ends, I know some people have been asking questions in chat. Is there anything else that anyone wanted to say? Frankly, even if you wanted to unmute your microphone right now to ask a question, I'll give you some people a minute to figure out that unmuting process right now.
Perhaps if you're unsure of how to unmute, maybe raise your hand and then Ken can unmute you to ask the question.
Yeah, just can you hear me?
I can, yes.
Yeah, you talked about connectivity, and that's the best thing here today, and sharing and that. Regarding the challenges, or I can say problems or issues in daily lives due to the pandemic, and I'm kind of a shy person. I don't make friends very easily. I mean, new friends. So how can this workshop help me? That's why I'm here today. I'm
Right.
sure something would come out of this workshop for me.
So I admit that as much of an extrovert as I seem like I am, I have difficulty establishing those connections, let's say live. I much prefer and have had more success engaging with people on my own time. And so by that, I mean, if you wanted to connect with someone or discover people with shared interests, instead of finding ways to connect that are face-to-face or live, like a video call, one of the things that technology lets you do is that correspondence. So maybe you find a, a message board or like a Facebook group that you could participate in, but your participation happens at your pace. So you could type something, somebody types something back. And if you're not ready to engage with that, or you don't feel confident yet in your answer, you have time to think about it in a way that you don't when it's a face-to-face conversation. So I know that there are lots of people that are shy, but if you're willing to do the work, not of overcoming shyness, but of just connecting on your own time, that's what I would say is a big thing that's possible. And this can be done with lots of activities. Even let's say if it's fitness, you used to think, oh, I would have to go to a gym and I'd be around other people. But if you find a group that perhaps shares their results, how long did it take you to run 5 kilometers? Well, you can share that on your own time, even if you're not running right next to another person. So if the shyness is about face-to-face connections, technology lets you, let's say, mediate that. It lets you do the connecting on your own time at your own pace. And that's what I would encourage you to do.
Thank you very much.
I wanted to actually add to that. Personally, Zoom is relatively new for me as well. And I must say that I was really shy to start using Zoom. And I think that that is a normal feeling. I would venture to say that the majority of our audience has a little bit of hesitation using Zoom from the very same reason. I would like to offer, though, that, specifically with the older adult, Zoom and working with technology is really new. And while we're here talking about the importance of connectivity, one of the hurdles and challenges for the older adult is that not every older adult is comfortable on using technology. So to speak to the previous question, I know that there are folks that are living within our retirement communities that would also maybe welcome getting to know new people and practice Zoom and technology while making a new friend. Some of them are playing games, whether it be Scrabble or euchre. I know euchre is really popular on games. So without going into too many details, anybody in the audience that is looking to connect, if you would reach back out to the community relations manager, I'm sure that they will be able to set you in the right direction, give you the tools, maybe connect you with folks that are living in our communities that are looking for added game players, practicing Zoom, or just simply new friends. So I just want to add that to the audience. Of course, whoever you RSVP'd with, that would be the person you would want to connect with.
Thank you very much. Great.
Well, I want to thank everybody, the audience, for hanging in longer, because I know we're past noon now. I want to thank Jesse for his great chat today, and Ken for his great behind the scenes help. And I actually would like to invite Ken to maybe share a little bit about Connected Canadians with us.
Yeah, thank you so much, Sasha. As Sasha mentioned at the beginning of the webinar today, Connected Canadians, we're a nonprofit that provides free technology and digital literacy training to adults over the age of 50. And of course, we believe that it's a human right to have access to this kind of free training. So we at Connected Canadians, we use a customized hands-on learning-centered approach where volunteers, really kind, warm-hearted volunteers that we have at our disposal and who have a high comfort level in technology, are paired with seniors and older adults. And this is working side by side, either one-on-one. We also offer group workshops in a similar format to what Viva has provided here today. And we tackle, various technology challenges that adults may have. And so we often learn together in real time as well. So I'm going to post in the chat some of the ways that you can connect with our organization and book a free one-on-one session with one of our volunteers. You can do it by our toll-free number, through our website, which I will post a link to, and also you can do it by emailing us at info@connectedcanadians.ca. So I'm just going to post that right now in the chat. Does anyone have any questions about what I've just told you about our organization and how you can get some help from us as well?
All right, then. Well, thank you very much. I really appreciate that. Gentlemen, the information today was absolutely relevant, timely, and we thank you and Connected Canadians for the great work that you're doing. I'd like to share with the audience that all of our Viva communities are working closely with Connected Canadians, so please continue to watch our Join Us flyers, and feel free, obviously, to participate and jump on the sessions to learn more. So thank you very much. I promise I'm winding down. Just one last plug for what's to come. Actually, in 2 weeks, April is another month where we're hosting 2 events. Second event is coming up on April 20th at 11 a.m. and we will be focusing on a session that finds purpose through volunteering. We have 2 astounding speakers, both with a lifetime of volunteer experience. Both also happen to be recipients of Senior of the Year Award in Carleton Place, which is out in Ottawa. And they're going to share some really great stories and tips on exactly how you can continue to volunteer right from your living room. So be sure to RSVP with your CRM, continue to watch what's up and coming with Viva Values Seniors Mental Health. One last thank you for everybody, for our attendants who participated, for our speakers, and for staying on the extra 11 minutes. Thank you very much, everyone. Stay healthy, and we'll see you in 2 weeks. All the best.